Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to cover all the divisional series in the 2019 MLB postseason because the last series just ended last night with the Houston Astros playing an elimination game, Game 5 against Tampa Bay, and they came out on top and they moved on to the ALCS, so let's get going. First, we'll cover the National League series. First off, the LA Dodgers and the Washington Nationals faced off. It was a very even series that I feel that the Dodgers should have won because they were the more talented team. And this was the Dodgers season to take it all in and win because they made it to the World Series the last 2 years and lost. So this was pretty much the Dodgers' shot at it, or their turn per se, because they lost and they got the lumps in and it was their turn. But they didn't do that, and again, Clayton Kershaw was not good in the playoffs. In the elimination game, Walker Buehler had a really good start. He only had an earned run on his ERA, and they bring in Kershaw and he lets them tie it up. And then Joe Kelly, who's a major free agent signing, who was really good and helped the Red Sox last year, he blew it and he gave up the grand slam and the game was out of hand by then. So it just shows the resilient play of the Nationals, and the Nationals are usually the playoff chokers, and they kind of switched over where the Dodgers lost and the Nationals won, which it shouldn't have happened. And they even won with Scherzer not being dominant. If Scherzer can get back to his dominance, and Strasburg for that matter, this national team could move on to the World Series and overtake St. Louis. So I thought it was a very interesting series in that way, was that the Nationals again showed that never say die attitude from when they showed in the wild card game when they came back late against Milwaukee and won. Because this should be like, if Josh Hader didn't give it up, like this would be a series that's Milwaukee versus LA, and we wouldn't even be talking about Washington for obvious reasons. And it's surprising the Nationals came back again, and they almost got eliminated twice, and they had late inning comebacks, this time an extra inning win. So it's crazy. The Nationals have been through a lot, and I think it's kind of funny that if they win it all, this is a year after letting Bryce Harper go to free agency and sign in Philadelphia. This would be crazy if the Nationals come out on top and Harper's gone. Basically shows that they didn't need Harper, or Harper may have been the clubhouse issue that prevented them. Because Soto seems to be on the same level, if not a step up from Bryce Harper, average-wise, hitting-wise. And he's just as good right now. And this is amazing. Like, the Nationals, I thought were going to take a step back from losing Harper, but they actually took a step forward. So I'm interested to see what goes on in the next series against the Cardinals, because I think they're a stronger team than St. Louis, but who knows? The Cardinals had the Cardinal way, and they play really good in the playoffs still. So since we got on the topic of the St. Louis Cardinals, we'll get into them. They played against Atlanta, and this was also a good series, back and forth action. Also went to the elimination game. And it was kind of like easy, back and forth, low-scoring, good pitching games. And the last game was just an outlier with Mike Foltynewicz, who had a nice rebound second half. He came in and threw in a dud and gave up 7 earned runs in the first inning, and the Cardinals scored 3 more. So the first time in MLB postseason history when a team scored 10 runs in the first inning, and by that point it was already over, and you could see it on Atlanta's faces that they already lost it in just the first inning. And Jack Flaherty, who looks really good for St. Louis, shut it down. He's their new young up-and-coming pitcher. In the second half, he had a sub-1 ERA after the All-Star break. So this guy is the real deal. He's only 23. He's a big right-handed guy who throws hard and has hard stuff and has good secondary pitches. And he's a player that could be the next big guy in St. Louis starting pitchers. Other things of note, the Cardinals veteran players who they signed or traded for finally started to come through, and Paul Goldschmidt and Marcell Ozuna. And they're looking good, but I don't think they're as strong as the Washington Nationals. But we'll see. That will be a good playoff series too. Both teams have good pitching and good lineups, and we'll see what happens. But I'm going to give the edge to the Nationals in that series. So right now, in my predictions, is that it's going to be the Washington Nationals moving on, and they're going to get into the World Series. That's my prediction. And on the American League side, the first series that was a sweep that I already talked about a lot was the Yankees and the Twins. There's not much to say about that series. Pretty much the Yankees just dominated the whole way through, and I already covered that in a separate video. So we'll just say the Yankees dominated and Minnesota had no shot and they were overmatched. So next to the other series, that was a surprisingly close series, and we thought that was going to be the sweep, which was Houston and Tampa. Houston won up 2-0 in the series quick, but then Tampa made it 2-2 and won both games in Tampa at home, and made it an elimination game for the Houston Astros, who are like, wait, what? We're playing against this Tampa team, and they did this. Like, they hit Zach Greinke, and they hit Justin Verlander, which I was very surprised about. This Tampa is doing a really good job with drafting prospects, developing them, and then inserting them into the lineup. And guys like Austin Meadows, Adames, like those are two guys that nobody really knew of coming into this year, and they played really good for the Tampa Bay Rays. And they found guys who just needed a second chance, like Travis d'Arnaud, who came in and hit for them and got them into the wild card game when we all thought it was going to be the Boston Red Sox making it in. But Tampa made it in instead, and that was a shocker because Blake Snell didn't have a good year. He was 6-8 with an over 4 ERA, and he was injured for parts of the year, which is not a good year after his Cy Young season, where he went 21-5 and had a 1.89 ERA. That's a big increase in bad production, and I'm starting to think, looking at Blake Snell's career, that season was his career year, and that was an aberration. And because looking at his stats, like that year was the only outlying year where he dominated. But that remains to be seen, as who knows how he comes back and pitches next year. Maybe he was still kind of hurt a little bit. But, yeah, hard-fought series by Tampa. I didn't really think they were going to do anything. I thought they were going to roll over and the Astros were going to clean them up easily. But to shut it down, Garrett Cole came out and pitched an amazing Game 5. He dominated from the get-go. Even though he gave up a second-inning home run to Eric Sogard, that was all he gave up. He pitched eight innings and struck out 13 guys. He looked amazing. He's going to earn a lot of money in the offseason. And he led the MLB in strikeouts, and he may very well get the Cy Young because he led the league in strikeouts, and he's pitching better than Verlander in the playoffs. So I'm looking forward to the Astros-Yankees series. And right now I have to give the edge to the Astros slightly because their starting pitching is, I'm more comfortable with their starting pitching. I feel like if the Astros can score early and get the starters out, then they can win games against the Yankees. That's going to be a tall order though, because the Yankees lineup is also very strong. But I'm looking forward to that, and I'm thinking this year's World Series for me is going to be Washington versus Houston, but I could be completely wrong, and it could be St. Louis versus the Yankees. And I don't want it to be the Yankees again, because they won too many times, and the same with St. Louis. They won a lot too, not as much as the Yankees, but they're basically the National League version of the Yankees, because they had 10 championships. So that's very interesting. So the baseball season's already almost over, because as you know, the playoffs in baseball are shorter than most other sports. Football is the shortest, obviously, because they're single game eliminations. But when compared to basketball and hockey, baseball has less amount of series. Well, they had the same amount, but the wild card is a single elimination game, so it's shorter. And their divisional series is a 5-game maximum series with a 3-game cap to move on, compared to a 4-game in a 7-game series. So the baseball season's already almost coming to a close already. But it's getting very interesting now. There's been really good playoff action and atmosphere and late inning heroics by a lot of teams this year, and I'm looking forward to more of that action with Houston and the Yankees going head to head, and St. Louis and the Nats going head to head. So that is very interesting, and I look forward to covering it when each series comes to an end, the NLCS and the ALCS, and we'll do a separate video on each one. So I look forward to that, or I may do it like in the same video and just talk about the first series one half and the second series in the other half. But that's pretty much it for today with postseason discussion. Thank you guys for tuning in. Like, comment, and subscribe. And I look forward to talking about this later when these series end. Thanks. See ya.